Today's guest is Mahdis Schubert. She's been a true trailblazer in supporting female in business in Austria and has just delivered a viral TEDx talk pointing out several struggles in today's economy.
Research shows women want to lead.
I'm in love with business, and I've been ever since I was a child or a teenager.
I wanted to create a life and career where I can be that warm-hearted person taking care of everyone's belly, and at the same time be a strong, smart business leader.
Starting a business is like scary, exciting, and then full of doubts in the beginning.
So what suggestion would you give to women pursuing a similar path?
There's a lot of societal expectations on how you should behave, how you should speak, who you should be with, how you should dress, what you should do. And I would say
Welcome to the second episode of Once Upon a Student, a place where highly accomplished individuals share their how. Today's guest is Mahdis Schubert, and I'm super excited to today's conversation as Mahdis' career is one of the most inspiring I have seen in a while. She's been a true trailblazer in supporting female in business in Austria and has just delivered a viral TEDx talk pointing out several struggles in today's economy. With a track record of supporting over 20,000 women across 75 countries and founding one of the most successful female networks, she brings a wealth of experience and insights into achieving professional excellence. So tell me, Mahdis, what morning ritual fuels your day?
first of all, thank you for the nice introduction. That was very sweet. And I love being back at university. I'm very impressed with the studio you have here and how it has developed. So it's great to be here. My morning routine is quite simple. I would say there's a couple simple aspects to it, which is, just having some me time in the morning. I like to take my ginger lemon shot to make sure I stay healthy and have some sort of movement, whether it's like a 10-minute stretch. If I'm traveling, there's usually a gym in the hotel, so that is like luxury, so you can actually already do a workout in the morning. But other than that, I don't have any specific morning routine. Just a ginger lemon shot, some sort of movement, making the bed to feel accomplished, and then getting started.
So you don't have to make it too complicated when it comes to building your routine, schedule.
I mean, I would love to. I'm just not that type of person. I would love to tell you, hey, I do my ice bathing in the morning and then I go for a run, but that would just be a lie. So as of right now, this is just my simple morning routine.
And why exactly have you chosen business and economics?
I'm in love with business, and I've been ever since I was a child or a teenager, because I watched predominantly the men in my family do business around the world, and I always saw them bringing home their business partners, inviting them into our house, and just building friendships. So I thought, wow, that just seems so fun. Like, you just basically travel the world and build friendships. And I thought, that's business. Well, I learned it's much more than that, and it's really tough work. But I love the idea of, being able to create products or services that bring value to others. And also the idea of collaborating and the aspect of trade, even across borders, is something that I really love about business and economics. Yeah.
There's a beautiful perspective on business. So it seems the path is the one you always wanted to take, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's amazing. So what fuels your ambition?
God, I just have one lifetime. I don't know. I need to make sure that I make most out of this life. And I just feel so privileged because I have the freedom to do whatever I want. I am well educated. I was able to, be born into a country where we almost pay no tuition to study. And I have the freedom that a lot of people in this world don't have, especially also women. So I kind of feel like I have this responsibility to make the most out of my potential and make sure that I impact other people's lives as well. So I just can't help it. I need to squeeze everything out of this life. Yeah.
So was this also your motivation to establish your company, Female Factor?
Prior to the Female Factor, I already got into business at a quite young age. I was 23. So I actually had to stop studying because prior to starting my first business. And I felt a bit lonely, to be honest, because once you get into those rooms where decisions are being made and you have meetings with a lot of executives, as a young woman, you do feel lonely. At least that's how I felt around 10 years ago. And then I met my now co-founder at a networking event, because I've always been a person who loves to make connections and was always going to multiple events and, just networking. And we shared the same sense of loneliness. And that kind of brought us together. And we said we see so much potential because why are we the only women in the room often? So that's why we then initially started the Female Factor. And the Female Factor started out as like a career platform where we mainly first focused, the first 2 years, I would say, focused on building the community and giving women anything they need to progress in their careers. But then after 2 years, we realized that women are well educated, they're trailblazers, but the system needs to change. So that's when we then started to go into recruiting, because we often heard, we're trying to change our management teams, but we just can't find a woman for this role. And that's sorry bullshit. So then we started with a job platform, and now we're really going into recruiting and making sure that we have an impact on how the teams are being set up in terms of gender balance.
And you mentioned one very interesting aspect, that you've been a very outgoing person. You seek those connections. And I think that's a key point for many young entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs, to find the courage to speak to random strangers. What would you suggest them to overcome it?
For me, at least, it was spending time in the US. Americans are very good at being out there and just talking to everyone. They have this type of culture and also their communication style. And I do have to say, it was actually, I studied abroad in the US thanks to this university here. And that was, for me, life-changing. Of course, I was exposed to making connections through my family because it was just normal for us to host parties or, that was just part of our culture in a sense. So I was exposed to that, and that brought out the extrovert in me. But in terms of really taking it to the next level, in terms of making connections and communicating in a certain type of way, I would say the time I spent in the US was significant for me.
I remember a quote of Scott Galloway. He mentioned that in your early 20s and 30s, your only goal is to open as many doors as possible.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah. And what do you think has differentiated you back then when you decided, hey, I want to found my own company?
I think an advantage that I had was that I already was running a business for 7 years. So in my previous role, I was already exposed to the legal aspects of having a business, the tax situation in multiple countries, leading teams, hiring, firing. Those are all important aspects. And that really helped me, plus obviously also the business foundation in terms of skills, to then go into the Female Factor as a business with more confidence. So it was not my first endeavor, so to say. Mm-hmm. It was not the first step I took in my career. I already had like 7 years on my back. So that helped tremendously. And because even when I was a student, I always loved to make connections. I already had a quite good network, I would say. I mean, it's not comparable with what we've built until today now, but it was already pretty good. And I really believe in the saying, your network is your net worth. And for me, it really is. It is my net worth. Like the reason why we've been successful in the past years is basically the people that we've known and the people we were able to connect with across borders. So I would say the advantage was, first of all, having the experience of running a business and a team prior, and also the network.
Do you think this experience was necessary to found a company, or do you think it can also work out if you found directly after university?
I mean, both ways work out for sure. Honestly, even today with this experience, every day is so different. Things change so quickly. I'm never going to be a full expert in this. You just have to be humble enough and curious enough to put your ego aside, no matter how many businesses you've started or how many years of experience you have, to go into it and learn every day on how you're going to tackle problems, because things change so rapidly. So I do believe that even after university, you can start with your first venture, so to say. But get yourself a good lawyer and a good tax advisor. That's what I learned. So I know that's a boring fact, but it's a really important one.
Yeah, this is an important one, especially also looking forward to which legal structure you want to have with your company, where do you found your company, and with who you want to found a company.
Especially with who you want to found a company. That's going to be significant for the success or failure of your business.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And which skills helped you the most so far on your journey?
I think what you mentioned before in terms of courage and communication, I'm not afraid to go out and speak with anyone in this world. Like I can approach anyone that I set my mind to. And even if I get a no 5 times, I don't care. I'm not going to take no as an answer. So I think the courage, confidence, and style of communication to not only externally present your ideas and what you want, but also internally to be able to communicate with your team on the expectations you have, the dreams you want to set together, the vision you have. So it's super, super important. And then I would say another skill is for sure just building resilience, because it's really hard. It's not easy. And you want to give up 100 times and you're going to have so many doubts, and you have to be resilient. You cannot give up. And it always helps to have a team, but also a co-founder or a partner to lean on to. So that goes again into also a sense of team collaboration, empathy, being able to read the room, being able to collaborate with other human beings. It's really important.
And what was the first time you thought you want to quit?
The first time, the first week.
First week already.
Oh, for sure. I mean, starting a business is like scary, exciting, and then full of doubts in the beginning. I mean, at least it was for me. Although it felt right, I knew it made sense. But yeah, the first 2 years were tough.
Yeah, especially the first week. I remember when I was finding my own business. It was until the point where I went to the bank and everything was fixed. It was like, okay, it's a cool dream. Everything is like imaginary, this startup dream that you have. But once you really set your ink on a paper, yeah, this is a different pressure you feel.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I love pressure though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I perform under pressure.
Yeah, me too. And I love I have to say, I love your commitment for this endeavor to support female in entrepreneurship, women in business. And I agree that this aspect is still underdeveloped for our time being. So what suggestion would you give to women pursuing a similar path than yours?
In terms of starting a business, you would say?
And being courageous.
I would say don't listen to the noise. Especially for women, there's a lot of societal expectations on how you should behave, how you should speak, who you should be with, how you should dress, what you should do. And I would say just don't listen to any of that, because you're never going to make everyone happy. And sometimes I've seen it with women that they set this standard for themselves, that they need to be perfect in every aspect of life and make everyone happy first before they make themselves happy. So this is really a hard lesson that I had to learn, because I'm also a people pleaser. That it really doesn't matter the noise. And also in terms of criticism, usually you get criticized by people who do less than you or who are not courageous enough to go out there and pursue their thing. So you can't really take that seriously. So make sure you not only ignore the unnecessary noise, but you also build yourself a circle of supporters and people who want to see you succeed. It's so important. And other than that, just freaking do it.
Mm-hmm. So are you a person that decides rather do you make decisions by a gut feeling or not?
Depends what type of decisions. If it's decisions on a day-to-day basis with operational work, they need to be fast and they need to be data-driven and informed decisions. Okay. Totally. In terms of big strategic decisions, yes, I do think it's needed that you collect information, that you have a certain diversity in the room when you make the decision, so you have multiple perspectives. But at the end of the day, you do have to ask yourself, is this what I really want? So let's say, based on the data, you should go to Kuala Lumpur, but based on your heart, you want to go to Singapore. Well, then I would choose Singapore. So at the end of the day, I do rely on my gut feeling and on my heart when it comes to large strategic decisions, because in the past I haven't, and it was the wrong choice then for me.
I have a similar opinion on that than you. And you mentioned during your TEDx speech, which I do recommend everyone to listen to, that from your childhood on you wanted to become a warm-hearted person who at the same time is a strong and smart business leader. How far away or how close are you to the dream?
Oh gosh, you need to ask the people in my environment to answer that question. I don't know. I mean, it's the standard I set for myself, so I pursue this every day. I do want to be my authentic self, which is I'm a very warm-hearted person, but at the same time, I am kind of like this in business. So, I mean, I'm trying to be every day, but yeah, you really need to ask the people around me.
Interesting. And looking back on your career, what would you describe your biggest personal challenge was? Because you already mentioned you had a lot of struggle with keeping to stay in this business because it's difficult to sometimes overcome it. But what would you say was your biggest personal challenge so far?
My biggest personal challenge was, especially in the beginning, the workload is unbearable sometimes. And my challenge was that I always prioritize the business over my own health, over anything that brings me joy in my private life, so to say. So that was the biggest learning for me, that if I don't take care of myself first, the business is not going to thrive. So after, again, these first tough 2 years, we implemented certain boundaries, like no work on the weekend. And, now I really grant myself so much freedom. And I also grant myself the freedom to take on projects or work with partners that I want to and don't necessarily have to. Same goes with who you work with in your team. If it doesn't work out, then you just, change aspects of your team. You don't have to torture yourself just to cater to others. Why do you then start a business if it's not under your own rules, so to say? So yeah, granting myself that freedom and not just putting everyone and everything before myself and my happiness, that was the biggest personal challenge I overcame in the past years.
Interesting. And because many young people, there is this current narrative that you have to seek balance within your life if you want to.
That's great. Good for them.
Yeah, this is great. But I thought about it, and I don't think entrepreneurs are the type of people that think about it in the beginning.
Well, I mean, for me, there's no work-life balance because for me, it's all life. Yeah. So, and I very much identify with my business, like this is my purpose in life. It's very much connected to what the business does, which is great, but it's also dangerous because it doesn't feel like work. Mm-hmm. But I do believe in setting boundaries, because once you are an entrepreneur that leads also a team and you have a company that has other human beings who spend their valuable time supporting this business cause, you have a responsibility because you're also a role model. So if I sit there and I work constantly, what image is that portraying for the team? Is that going to put pressure on them so they have to do the same? No, I don't want that. So I do believe in some sort of boundaries, but for me, it's all life. I'm not familiar with work-life balance per se too much.
But it sounds for me that you're actually pretty happy in your business.
Yes, I'm very happy.
Yeah, that's something to strive for. And where do you still feel like a student?
Everywhere. Honestly, everywhere. There's things that work out today that don't work out tomorrow, every aspect of both the business and life and how you work with others, I learn so much every day. So I can't give you a specific answer on where exactly I'm a student. I'm a student everywhere, to be honest. Yeah. And I mean, what is most valuable, I believe, from the time when you're actually a student, when you're running through an educational program, whether it's in school or in university, is you learn how to be a student. You learn how to learn. Mm-hmm. For some people, it makes sense to listen to a podcast. For others, they need to read something. So everyone has their own unique style. And I think that's an aspect that is so valuable when you go through some sort of education, that you learn your own unique style on how to be a student, how to study something, how to solve a problem, how to brainstorm with others. And that is something that is going to accompany you throughout life until you're 100 years old.
I totally agree. And what would you say? Because there is also, I think, at least with me, a sense of perfection with me. And how do you overcome it when the sense of lifelong learning and perfection. It is very hard to combine, actually.
Yes. So I'm also a fellow perfectionist. I totally feel you on that. But to quote one of my favorite singers, Beyonce, perfectionism is a disease. It's really not good. And what I've learned is that it's mostly tied to your own ego or certain expectations and standards that you set for yourself or your parents or something from your childhood usually. So I highly recommend working with a coach or therapist to tackle that, because perfectionism honestly is not helpful, not for you, not for your team. It's useless.
Yeah, my friends always laughed at me because after I finished my bachelor's degree, I found my first company, and I was all the time testing. And every time was something new coming on. And it was actually pretty funny because they were like, okay, where is the structure behind it? But at the beginning, you don't have a structure. You just try 100,000 of things. And those things that work out, you see, okay, this work out, and you learn by doing.
Yeah.
So I was never like, I have to learn everything priorly. But afterwards, when I saw, hey, this is working out, I wanted to become like perfectionist on that.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with striving for excellence. I really believe in it. I also have set very high standards for myself and also for others. But there's no such thing as perfect, because that is what seems perfect to me does not seem perfect to you. So it's very individual. And I don't think we should pursue perfectionism, but I do think we should pursue becoming good at something for sure. And being professional and delivering at a high level. But sometimes you just need to pick your battles. It's not worth it.
And now a bit of a more personal question. Are you proud of yourself?
Yes, for sure.
Amazing. And what was your biggest achievement until now, and why?
I would say, first of all, one of my biggest achievements was for sure creating something like the Female Factor that impacts other people's lives in a positive way. It's, for me, sometimes I can't even grasp it, how many people we've impacted in terms of how many promotions they got, or if they started a new business, or if we had an influence on how much money they make, and all of that. That's incredible. But another huge achievement for me, and a dream that I've always had, I always wanted to be free. And I am free. I'm free in what I'm doing right now. And I'm free in how I'm structuring my day to an extent, who I spend my time with, where I go. And I'm able to give this freedom also to my environment and take my friends and family with me. And this freedom is everything that I've always wanted to accomplish.
And what thought keeps you up at night?
What actually kept me up at night last week was, we always plan like really big things with a very small team. Like, we're still like 15 people. So it's a quite small team, but we always have ideas and projects that go like in multiple locations around the world. Like right now we went to the Middle East, and we want to do something around Europe. And when you then, after like pitching this vision and working on preparing and planning these projects for years, when you then go into execution, you want to make sure that it works out actually, and you never know in advance. And especially when you have other people who dedicate their time to working on executing this vision with you, I feel a strong like responsibility and pressure, and that keeps me up at night sometimes, because I want to make sure that they also feel accomplished after this, and I want to make sure it's a success for everyone. But we might fail also, you know. And so this nuance of how are we going to make sure it feels like a success, even if it's not perfect, as you say, that's what keeps me up. And the pressure of just, being responsible for other people, that also keeps me up.
Do you
at
like
night
responsibility?
sometimes. Yes, I love responsibility. Otherwise, I would be insane to be an entrepreneur. Yes, I've always taken on responsibility ever since I was a child. Yeah. Otherwise, I would have not started a business if I didn't like responsibility.
And how have you built your business when it comes to team structure?
So we have a dual leadership model, which means that we split the CEO tasks. So me and my co-founder, we're also co-CEOs. So everything goes through 4 eyes, so to say. which I love. I wouldn't do it any other way because, in my opinion, it's a very lonely path otherwise, and it's a lot of pressure. So I love our, combination. And then we each are responsible for a certain area of the business. And then we have a VP level, and then the VPs have their certain team levels. And that's how it's split up right now. And for certain projects, we then also work with freelancers and extend the team up to 30 people.
Okay, good advice. Thank you very much. I will use it. And last but not least, my favorite question.
Okay.
Is there a question that you want to be asked but hasn't been asked by anyone yet?
Honestly, not really. I think I was never asked if I'm happy, but you asked me that today. So that was nice. But you know what? What never happened was for me as the guest to be able to ask a question.
Feel free.
So yeah, that because for me, this is a conversation.
Yeah.
And so, let me ask you a question. What is your ultimate goal with this podcast series? What do you want to achieve?
My ultimate goal is to inspire young people to follow their paths that they have in their minds, but they are missing the structure and the missing puzzle pieces, how to build it.
Okay.
And I would love to help many people building their personal goals.
Nice. Okay. Well, I hope you achieve it.
Thank you very much. And thank you for your time. It's been a very crisp and very interesting podcast for me.
Okay, good.
So thank you very much for being my guest and wish you a lot of success with your endeavor.
Thank you very much.
Have a successful day.
Thank you.